All right, Nick, let's get right in to your lesson here. Um, Obviously, you've got a great swing, man. There is a lot of things that I really, really like about how you move your body and how you move the club. So there's not room for a lot of improvement here, but I do see a few things that I think would make you a little bit more a consistent player. Um, Taking a look here at the down the line view, everything in the backswing to me looks somewhat orthodox. You do have a little bit of an elevated arm path. I don't have necessarily a problem with that. I think a little bit higher hands at the top gives you an opportunity to shallow the club because you have a little bit more time to do so. So I think you make effective use of this higher hand path, higher arm path position. What I want to address is your pivot. And I think that the biggest thing that I can help you with is how to improve your pivot because your lower body kind of stalls out in the downswing because of how you've got some of your foot pressures. But as your lower body stalls out, you see this kind of a flip, roll, release, and I think that can lead to some inconsistencies in your golf swing. So, the first thing that I've noticed is from a foot pressure perspective, when you start down in transition, the trail knee should move into flexion, okay? And what that means is that the pressure should move from um, in your heel, your right heel at the top, toward the balls of your right foot. So the right knee should move out, and the pressure should move into the ball of your right foot. And what that's going to do is allow the pelvis to turn. So as the trail leg is moving into flexion, the left knee, which is already in flexion, should start externally rotating toward the target, and that'll get the pelvis opening up. And I don't know if you have trained this, been taught this, or what, but your right foot, when you start down in transition, your pressure actually moves back into your heel. And because of that, you keep your right foot on the ground for a very, very long period of time. So here we are post impact, and you can see that your foot is starting to kind of roll toward the target, but you should already be on the ball of your right foot, right knee internally rotated, hips spinning open, and that's going to allow that handle to keep moving around the club. If you look at Charley Hoffman over here on the right, who I think, by the way, has the best pivot on the PGA Tour, I want you to watch the knee action, the right knee action, and watch the right foot action. So you're going to see the pressure clearly move into his right foot as he starts down. And you can see how the right heel starts lifting up off the ground. And from there, the hips can get really, really open. So if I back you up at that kind of same position, and I can't quite get to that same frame, so I'll just move him forward to the same frame that you're in. Probably about right in there. So look at how much more his lower body has opened. Look at how much more the back of the left leg, the left butt cheek, and that's due to the right knee moving out toward the target line and the right foot coming up off of the ground. All right, so if we take a look now from the face-on view, I'm just going to kind of address those same things and give you some different perspective. To the top of the backswing, you kind of stop turning your shoulders here, and this isn't related to what I was talking about earlier, but it's just another observation. So the shoulder turn stops here. I like to see the shoulder turn working a little bit deeper this way because that will prevent you from lifting the arms quite so much at the top. But that's not the priority for this lesson. Obviously, where you get the club at the top and how you shallow it in the downswing is sufficient. But I want to just show you how in the downstroke, your left knee right now is internally rotated. And that's exactly what should happen in the backswing. But what should happen in transition is the knees should separate, which means the right knee should move into flexion, and then the left knee should go fully external, okay, and rotate this way. And you'll see a widening of the knees, or a gap between the knees. Now, when the pelvis begins to rotate, the right knee needs to go into internal rotation, which means it'll kind of chase the left knee a bit. And that's the part that you're lacking because you keep your right foot down on the ground for so long. So if we kind of look at this, you can see that your hips are moving toward the target. You're kind of sliding, but there's not a lot of external rotation until about right now, okay? And then from there, there's no more rotation of the lower body. The club just kind of passes and flips you. And again, that right foot staying down on the ground for a very, very long period of time. So I know players who tried to do that, who tried to keep the right foot down, have been told to do that. That is a band-aid that allows players to hit a draw because they basically stall their pivot and swing out to the right. You're far too good of a player for something like that. And, we need your rotation, your pivot to be much more dynamic. So if you watch Charley Hoffman here on the right, you can take note of this right foot. But I want you to pay particular attention to the right knee and how he goes he internally rotates this right knee after he goes into flexion. So there's the flexion, the squat, and the knees separating. Now watch his femur internally rotate toward the target. So you can see how his right knee, is working basically in the same direction as that arrow that I have on the screen. And then from there, his hips keep opening, he keeps clearing, and that, his right heel is completely off the ground at this point. And if I take you kind of to that same frame, your right heel is still down. I'll even advance him to catch up to you, which is about right there. So you can see, again, how much more his pelvis is rotated. His belt buckle is basically pointing straight down the target line, where yours is still kind of over in this direction here. And, the kinematic sequence basically defines a transfer of energy through the golf swing. And how that kinematic sequence works is basically from the top, the first thing that happens is the pelvis begins to rotate in a circle. And then from there, the thorax begins to rotate in a circle. And then from there, the lead shoulder starts to rotate in a circle. And then the last thing is the left arm rotates. So we've got to get more sufficient rotation out of your lower body. But you're never going to do it by keeping this right foot down on the ground for such a long period of time. So what I want you to do is I want you to free up that right leg. I want you to let the pressure move out to the ball of your right foot. I want you to allow your right knee to internally rotate. And then in the follow through, I want you to feel like, or post impact, I want you to feel like you are squeezing your knees together. And what I mean by that is this. So left knee externally rotates, right knee goes into flexion, pressure goes to the ball of the right foot. Now he feels like he's squeezing those knees together, which means there's not a lot of daylight in between the right and the left leg. By squeezing those knees together, you keep the rotation of the pelvis going, and therefore you stall the rate of closure, or the flip, so to speak, in your golf swing. All right, hope this video helps you. Please shoot me a message if you need some clarification, or you have any questions. Thanks, Nick.